Right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode number 39 of the No Punches Pulled podcast with myself, Mr. Liam Tully, Mr. JFT. Fear not, will be on his way very, very shortly. Liam, not the biggest week of boxing compared to what we've potentially got coming up and what we've had, but we'll make what we can out of this coming weekend. Myself and you will be watching Sugar Nunes against Rikishi tomorrow from Japan. That'll be a good fight. We've got Plant and Charlo on the same bill in Vegas. Unfortunately, not against each other, but I'm assuming that they're planning for a showdown towards September, October against each other. You got Khalil Cohen, Manuel Gallegos running it back. Gallegos obviously pulling off the upset in the first fight. We'll go through a couple of them, obviously. While we wait for JFT, any further thoughts on the state of what happened with Taylor Esserman or Moses Atalma's future, anything like that?
I think I watched the fight back on Sunday, the main event, Taylor Esserman, and just disappointing, isn't it? Like, Jay summed it up perfectly at the end of the stream. None of us are Scottish. None of us have any real loyalties to Josh Taylor, but we were all flat and gutted, really, at the end of that fight. I think, everyone's quick to throw shades when a man's down and when they're not doing their best. But let's remember, Josh Taylor is the only ever four-belt undisputed champion we've had on these shores. His run to get there was incredible. And regardless of what he does now, we'll never lose that. It just seems that either he spent too long down at 140 before moving up. He doesn't gel with the McNally's right. Perhaps he never should have left McGuigan because he's not looked the same since he left Shane and that gym. Obviously, we know the external factors why he did. It just, seemed flat on Saturday, didn't it? Perhaps even more so than he did against Catterall and Lopez. It was in a different way because no offense to Echo Esserman, he's never been in anywhere near the level of Josh Taylor, yet he was able to outwork him and looked like he wanted it more on Saturday night. That's what I got watching it back. He looked like he wanted it more than Josh Taylor, which was surprising. Look, another fight that's been thrown around for Josh is the Regis Prograis rematch, and I probably wouldn't be adverse to seeing that because it's another fight of who's got more left. But Josh is...
They're both well over their hill, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. Josh's career is in a perilous position. Moses Atalma is a superstar already. Look, he needs to be on that Wembley card. Lawrence Okoli has come out today and said he either wants Kabayel or Bacoli next. Look, if you give Lawrence Okoli to Moses Atalma, I think it would be a good fight. But I really do hope that Atalma and Bacoli gets made for July 19th on Usyk and Dubois.
Well, Billy came out at ringside and said there's something big on. So the earliest that Bacoli would be available to fight Atalma is December. He came out and said that last week. Now, look, take it as a pinch of salt if you want, but because Frank kind of pulled him up on it and went, well, hang on a minute. We've got pretty much every big fighter in the heavyweight division and we know nothing about a move for Martin Bacoli. So, which is a fair point.
Look, Martin Bacoli's biggest thing could be Billy's going to lock him up in Scotland for 6 months and actually get him down to a better weight again. That could be what's going to keep him out till December. Slight tongue-in-cheek, slight serious, but look, there's better fighters out there for Bacoli. I actually think if Moses was to beat Lawrence Okoli on that July card, he'd probably get more credit than he would do for beating Bacoli, a two-division world champion for the little that Bridgerweight's were. But he is a two-division world champion. I think that does more for Moses in the long run and could potentially be a better fight against Lawrence. But look, in terms of what happens next, Echo Esserman is right in line for a world title shot or an eliminator of some sort. Whoever wins Catterall and Harlem Eubank on the 5th of July, that could be the next opponent for Echo Esserman, if we're being honest. And then Moses, look, we just want to see him in big fights now. We don't need any more failed NFL players. Failed this. We need him in with a legitimate top 5 heavyweight.
Absolutely. Welcome, JFT. How's tricks, my friend?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. You guys all right?
All good, mate.
Yeah, doing good, mate. Doing good. Just having a little natter while we waited for you on last week's event. I don't know if you've got any further thoughts on Taylor Esserman or Moses Atalma's next direction, or should we move on to this week?
Job centre for Taylor Esserman versus Harlem Eubank in the summer when he beats Jack Catterall.
One half of the JFT double is up and running. Just needs Harlem Eubank. They had the presser to that today, didn't they? Actually,
yeah.
Eubank Catterall.
I've not seen it yet, but I've seen
I saw Sam Jones had a monocle.
Oh, fuck off, man. I'm sick at sight of that dickhead. Has he ever actually done anything in boxing other than fucking hang around? Doing AFL TV interviews? Fuck
Here
off,
he
will
is.
you? Dickhead, man. No time for him.
He's arrived.
Anyway, good evening, everybody.
Jay's here. Right, boys, then
mood.
let's look at this week. Starting Japan tomorrow, obviously, Yoshiki Taka, I think, will headline, but the co-main event's really where you want to put your attention. Sugar Nunes finally getting his shot at the IBF Super Featherweight World Championship. Mansouri Rikishi is going to be his opponent. I hadn't really seen much of Rikishi, if I'm being honest, but I did watch a little bit on him, and it's going to be a war tomorrow in Japan. Telling you, it's not a foregone conclusion. I think Sugar's rightfully favourite. Look, he's 27-1, 27 knockouts. Logic says that he'll knock Rikishi out, but look, he can bang himself. And I don't know if you saw the weigh-in. He's long. He's a big guy at super feather, Rikishi. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I saw Eddie's over. He's got a lot of stock invested in Sugar winning. Obviously, Matchroom have made that play for the Mexican market, haven't they? So if they can have a flagship world champion, especially a knockout artist like Nunes, it should be a decent fight tomorrow.
Potential to be fight of the week, mate. We were just sort of covering how it's a bitty week. You've got a Golden Boy card. You've got a bit of Matchroom interest in Japan. You've got the PBC card. Nothing's really all together in one card. But this tomorrow has potential to be fight of the weekend. Look, Sugar Nunes, for whatever reason, Anto Kakachi done it. He decided to vacate his IBF belt rather than fighting Sugar. For whatever the reason is. Yes, he's now talking about maybe getting back in with Sugar, but that makes no sense.
Oh.
Eddie needs this win tomorrow. Look, we've joked about Eddie seeming to lose nearly every big rivalry he's had with Frank or Oscar, bar one or two since the back end of last year. You've just mentioned it, Sam, the investment they want to put in Mexico. Eddie's already said they've got a big Mexico show planned for August. Well, guess they want to headline that? Sugar Nunes' first defense of his world title. So that's why Eddie's in Japan. I've seen a lot of stick today that Eddie wasn't at the press conference for Catterall and Eubank. Frank Smith was headlining it. Well, no offense, that fight is in 10 weeks' time.
Eddie's out with his fighter. I don't really get why he's getting stick.
But there's a lot on it for Eddie. He needs, that's why he's out there. That's why he's so active. He's posted about 20 things on social media about fights today alone. Yeah. Matchroom needs this to win. Otherwise, that big homecoming in Mexico in August is going to be another one that sort of gets pushed to one side and we pretend we never spoke about.
I think he walks through him 4 or 5 rounds.
I think it could be a 4-round war, honestly.
I don't think Rikishi's strong enough. Not from what I've seen of him. I don't think he's strong enough at the top level. He's good and he's rangy, hits hard himself. There's no massive names on his record. He's been wobbled a couple of times in his fight, sort of stunned. You can't afford to have that happen to you against someone like Nunes. If he wobbles you,
he'll take you out.
Jump all over him.
Out.
And I expect this to be a probably a breakout. I'd call it a breakout performance. Obviously, we know who he is, and people within boxing know who he is. But the fact that Eddie's over there and it's getting its coverage, it's on Sky or DAZN, should I say, midweek. I think this will put him on the minds of fans that wouldn't ordinarily know who he is. The fact that Eddie's there and Eddie's got the homecoming and stuff. So I don't expect him to slip up. I think it would be a shock for me if he lost.
Sugar's a deserved favourite. He's shown with a better level that he can do it. And, the only factor is going into the Lions Den in Japan kind of thing.
That's it, Liam. He's on away soil. That's the big advantage for Rikishi. And I think I don't think Rikishi can win at fighting his normal style of fight. He's going to have to go into the fire with Nunes and get his respect, in my opinion, if he wants to get the victory. And going into the fire with Sugar Nunes is a dangerous tightrope to be walking. So, look, I think it's possible, like you said, Jay. I think it could be a 4-round kind of, if he gets tagged and maybe tag Sugar back when, one of those kind of things. Yeah, that's why
I think that's his best opportunity. I mean, look, we know home fighters sometimes get decisions and I think he would have to put on a dominant display to get the point feature. I don't think he can stay away from Nunes for the 12. So I believe his best chance is to jump on him early and just have a war with him and just either live by it or die by it. Sort of.
Yeah,
see if you can knock him out early. Yeah, I think so. But
Everyone's audio okay?
Yeah, mine's good.
Oh, couldn't hear Jay. Did he go off mid rant to you?
Yeah, it went off mid rant.
I was just thinking, it must just be me. Anyway, it's all good. Don't worry. Right, we'll JFT out the game for a bit. Where's the producer? The producer will fix it for you, mate. Here he is. Right. You don't see this on the real YouTube channels. Right, Liam, we'll move away from that one then. Let's take a look at Mexico. Guadalajara, I think it's in, to be fair. You got Khalil Coe, Manuel Gallegos 2. That happened firstly in Philly on the Enis Chikadzian 2 card. Khalil Coe suffering his first career last night round knockout to Gallegos, who was all over him, to be fair. MJ at Madaliev, co-main event, I think. Stay busy fight for Inoue in September in Japan. So not the worst card that Matchroom could have dug out, in fairness. I think Khalil Coe is going to struggle. Only 6-7 months removed from that first Gallegos fight. I think he's in the deep end again. I don't actually think he's as good as Eddie or everyone initially thought he was going to be.
Very similar to Fisher Allen a couple of weeks ago, isn't it?
I actually mentioned the same thing, mate, in my video that released tomorrow. I said exactly the same thing. 6 months is not a long time to correct what's gone on. Yes, Pat, I agree on both.
Only 3 weeks difference between Fisher Allen and the first fight for this.
Correct.
Look, Gallegos is an awkward operator. We sort of said similar about Dave Allen. He's awkward because he's unassuming and you don't really expect much from him. But psychologically, we saw the psychological effects on Johnny Fisher once Dave landed his first big punch in the 3rd or 4th round a couple of weeks ago. It's going to be similar in this one. I think Gallegos does get a stoppage. I agree with Pat as well. But yeah, it's another example of Matchroom needing their, fighter to pull someone out of the fire, and you just don't feel like they're going to. MJ as well. Look, we're going to come on to it with the Plant and Charlo fights, I think, but these stay busy fights are...
Yeah, there's too many of them going about at the minute. These stay busy, marinating fights, whatever you want to call them. I definitely agree with that. I think MJ's opponent is not up to much, is he? To be honest, but look, Gallegos lost to Pacheco in a couple of rounds, did he? A year or so ago. So, he is good. He obviously proved that in the Coe fight. But if Khalil Coe can't do that, then that probably shows you what level he's going to remain at, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It should be repeat. Revenge wouldn't surprise me, but
yes, DJ.
As similar to what we said a couple of weeks ago, Fisher and Allen, it's not a lot of time to make adjustments jumping straight back in without taking another fight.
Yeah, don't know if you got an eye on that, Jay, in Mexico Friday night. Khalil Coe Gallegos the rematch.
I think MJ will knock him out. I fucking hate StreamYard, by the way. Restream, if you want to do me a sponsorship, fuck you, StreamYard. I fucking hate it. I never have any issues with any other platform. StreamYard, you bollocks, mate. Fuck off.
I haven't been on StreamYard for about 6 weeks.
Fucking hate it. It just throws me out. Bumpers, won't take my mic. I hate it. So, yeah. I think it'll be the same result. I think we'll get a stoppage. I'm not. Yeah, it's not a mouth-watering fight for me. It's not.
No, it's not one you're going to set the alarm for, is it?
No, I'm not clamoring to see it, and I'm not trying to be negative on that. I love boxing in general, but we've seen this play out before. I haven't seen anything that makes me think it's gonna be a shock. I think MJ will be the deserving winner.
Yeah. So moving on to Plant then and Charlo. So Charlo, Lamana, Plant, Resendiz. They're in different fights, should we say, or fights that are marinating towards their October, September.
I don't know why they're not just doing it now.
Whatever it is. I don't know. Charlo's still on this mini comeback, isn't he? This little, I don't know. I don't know if he lost the plot or he had issues outside the ring, didn't he, or something like that. He's still 33-0, in fairness to him.
Yeah.
He's obviously got a good record, been world champion. We know all about his pedigree, but his career's fell off a cliff, hasn't it, if we're being blunt about it, Jamal Charlo?
Just not active enough. He's just never been active enough. I mean, even in his pomp, he was 1, maybe 2 a year max. He's never really been, yes, Mitch, Hope you're well, brother. He's flattered to deceive for me. He's had some really good performances and, got potential to gather momentum, and then he's just gone missing for 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, got arrested, got locked up, beat this person up outside the cage ring. Yeah, and I know he's 33 and all and that, but his career could have been so much better than it is. And I think he will kick himself when he sits down and all said and done. Unless he has some mad run and cleans up, which I can't see him doing, I think he'll be disappointed. Obviously, it's about money, and the way he portrays himself, he's made decent money, but could have made way more. Could have been involved in big Saudi fights or, unification matches. And yeah, he's always flattered to deceive for me.
He's wasted his prime.
I think so, yeah. I think so.
Agree with Chilltown, yeah.
Yeah, look, it's another case of a PBC fighter that you say, oh, he should have had X, Y, and Z fights in the last 3 years, but in reality, he's had 2 or 3. And yes, okay, there's issues outside of the ring as to why we've not seen Charlo as much as we should have done. But take those issues out of it. Look at his body of work when he has been active. And unfortunately, it's not another PBC bashing from us, but in reality, it's typical in-house matchmaking from PBC or bringing in fighters that allow their fighters to look fantastic because they shouldn't be in the ring with the opponents. Look, me and Sam just said when you went off, Jay, mate, about these fights marinating. It's becoming more and more of a thing in boxing. Like MJ doesn't really need to be out on Friday night. There's enough in the tank for him to go straight into the Inoue fight later in the year. And putting Plant and Charlo on this card, I mean, less so Plant because he has been active, but would I be surprised if Charlo loses on Saturday night? No, I wouldn't. And as soon as Charlo loses...
That's the problem. So look, I'm from a West Indian background, right? Grandma, dad, granddad, all cooked, right? And marinate the food. But what happens if you marinate it too long? It fucking spoils, mate. And you have to throw it in the bin.
That's Ryan Garcia.
You marinate it. If you aren't grabbing it, as soon as it's taken, it's going off and it's spoiling. We're sick of being spoon-fed this bollocks about marinating. We know who needs to fight who. Just put them on. That's one good thing about this.
That's a great event. Sorry to cut you off, Jay. If we're talking about Plant versus Charlo this weekend, we're going, that's a good fight, that. Like, I'm up for that. I'll watch that. I'll get up and set my alarm for it. I'm not setting my alarm for those two fighting people I've never heard of before.
No.
With the greatest of respect to Resendiz. No. I have heard of Armando Resendiz before. It just
we've heard of him, but it's if you had a list of people you wanted to see either of them fight, neither of their opponents would be on that list. They're better off just fighting each other.
Agreed.
I know they're trying to build it up. This fight ain't going to be any bigger off the back of Saturday night than it would be if you just threw them in anyway. Or didn't have Saturday night. And I don't get that. I don't get that. I don't get it. I don't accept your apology because I don't get what you're on about. Threw me off that.
I thought your audio's gone again, mate. I
just think that fight could have been made and just make it. It's a fight I want to watch.
Yeah, no, that would be the fight this weekend because there's nothing really on this weekend. So it'd be like, okay, Plant Charlo, great fight, probably justifiably PBC, Amazon pay-per-view, whatever it is in America. It wouldn't be over here, but it would be. It's a big American fight, that, and the winner is nailed on for a world title shot in super middleweight.
PBC need the big fights. Their biggest fight so far this year has been Tank Roach, and the only reason that ended up being as big as it was because Roach delivered a performance.
The controversy.
Their second biggest fight will be Tank Roach too.
Exactly. Exactly, and that's what I mean. Like, don't get me wrong, we love the fact that this is just the typical PBC cards, and there's no pay-per-view attached to it this weekend, as we lose Jay again. And there's no there's no pay-per-view attached to it this weekend. But the reality is they're doing it at the T-Mobile Arena. There'll be curtains all over the place. You'll be lucky if you got 5,000 people in there. We spoke before, and we've spoken when we've been on with Chilltown about how Americans are very different to us. They don't part with their cash to go to these events unless it's something to really blow them away. And there's, Kermo Motan's on this card this weekend, and that's what excites me more than either of the two fights at the top of the
I mean, fucking StreamYard kicking me out. No, I get what you say at Chilltown. I just didn't get the ball break. I didn't get what you meant by it. I'm not trying to be an asshole. I just didn't get what you meant about sorry for me being West Indian. I don't get it. I don't get it, brother. I missed it.
Yes, Luca. I hope you're well, mate. Yeah, it should be Plant Blanga. That would have been a great matchup stylistically. Yeah, right. Enough shitting on PVC and Charlo and Plant now. We know PVC should have been making that as the main event. What card have I missed or what haven't I talked about? Someone remind me.
Amir Khalifa fighting on the 27th. Isn't she fighting tomorrow? Him.
Do me a favour, Frank. Do me a favour. PBC always does poor matchmaking. That is correct. I agree with that. Let's talk some fight news or rumoured fights that are coming up. I did read that David Benavidez' next fight's going to be either Callum Smith or Anthony Yard. I'm interested in both, much more in Callum Smith.
Is it?
Well, that's what he came out and said.
Yeah, but
there's no other option. Who are the other options?
Yeah, but then they're saying that Smith versus Yard in negotiations. So
well, I heard that for the 5v5, but then Tunde said it's bullshit. So I don't know.
I hope Yard don't get a big fight. He don't deserve one.
No, Benavidez would stop Yard, in my opinion. I don't even think Benavidez is a big puncher, but Benavidez against Smith would be an absolute war. That would be a great fight.
And I would give Callum Smith a good chance. I think it's.
I would give Smith a chance. I think Benavidez wins, but I would give Smith a chance.
Yeah, it depends what Smith's got left.
Yeah,
whether he can go to the well at that level. You know, we saw him beat Buatsi, but Buatsi was untested at that level. You know, we can say what we want about. I agree, Luca. He'll walk through.
Yes, Luca.
Yard's an athlete. He's got a decent shot, and he's dined out on.
Yard's looked terrible his last two fights.
Yeah, but he's dined out on giving world champions tough nights, allegedly. You know, being a punching bag.
He does.
But I think Callum Smith is in that fight. I think it's a 60-40 for me. 60-40 fight for me in Benavidez's favour.
Yeah, you have to remember, Callum is a huge puncher. Not a bigger puncher than he gets credit for. He doesn't get enough credit for his power, in my opinion.
No, he doesn't. And look, we talk about recency bias a lot when we're talking about fighters here. What has Anthony Yard done recently? He stunk the gaff out in his last two fights. One of them on
Lions.
What's been the biggest pay-per-view, one of the biggest pay-per-views so far this year, which was a month ago today with Eubank Bane. You know, that was on paper the fight that delivered the least on the card, him against Yard for the third time. Callum Smith's coming off of a career best performance at light heavyweight. And not the best performances of his career, that's George Groves, but a career best performance at light heavyweight that he delivered in February. And actually, I think he's a better fight for Benavidez. Benavidez beats and probably stops Yard because Yard is quite a basic fighter to overcome because all he's got is his incredible heart and the fact that he believes he can't be dropped with his chin. Whereas at least Callum Smith will have a dig. And like you say, Sam, Smith's power isn't spoken about enough. I think, like Jay says, a 60-40 fight, you'd favour Benavidez because he's the younger man. But would I be shocked if Callum Smith was to win? Probably not, no, because we've seen time and time again what Smith can do. Yeah,
I know, Luca. I agree with that.
It's deserved more than Yard. It's deserved more than Yard. If Anthony Yard gets that fight over Callum Smith and then Callum Smith sits out for another 6 months, all that's happening is Callum Smith is edging closer to the Liam Smith position of it not being there anymore, like we saw with Smith against McKenna, unfortunately. And that's, like Jay said, if Callum stays active now and gets another couple of fights in, then there's a potential for him to pick up a belt or something here, isn't there?
Yeah, I think he's a couple of years removed from being where Liam is at the minute, you know, because he's younger, but he has had a lot of inactivity recently.
That's what I mean, the inactivity, mate, isn't it? That's the killer.
He got a bad arm injury, didn't he, in the Canelo fight? But no, I fancy his chances. I hope the Yard fight doesn't happen. I'm sick of seeing Yard in big fights, undeserving in big fights. And, you know, we saw him labour to a victory against Lyndon Arthur. He didn't, you know, he should have blasted Lyndon Arthur out of there, really. Lyndon was on the sofa.
Yeah, he was.
Was on the sofa. I mean, yeah, it's a bit strong. I mean, but yeah, Tunde's not my favourite person. I think he's conned a living. Him and Spencer Fearon. You know, they've managed to stay within the limelight by having a couple of fighters. And I mean, I don't know what Spencer does. The knowledge. I haven't got a clue what he does.
The knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, great, aren't we all? Yeah, I'm excited. I'd like that fight to be made. I wish you'd just push Yard out. Let Yard go fight Buatsi. Let them two fight.
Yeah,
that should be how it is, mate.
Yeah, that's the fight. Yard Buatsi, because that Buatsi coming off the defeat and Yard not looking great. That's the fight you do, and then you do Smith Benavidez.
Mate, we were meant to get Yard Buatsi last year, weren't we? Off the back of Buatsi beating Aziz and Yard having that fight at the Copper Box, and then Yard decided he's had enough of Frank Warren and pissed up all of last year away. We were meant to get that last summer.
Do you know what fight I'd make Yard have? Ben Whittaker. I'd make him fight Ben Whittaker.
It's not a bad fight.
I think Ben Whittaker would beat him. I think he beats him.
Well, yeah, we're all back on the Whittaker train now, aren't we? After the Cameron rematch,
I never fell off.
I went for him.
I said he walked through.
No, to be fair, I think we all picked Whittaker to win the rematch.
We all picked Whittaker, and I said it'd be easy. So they walked through him.
You did. I think. I picked decision, but I did pick him.
We all picked him to win. But I'd like to see Whittaker in a big fight now.
Yeah, two things that are on the top of my head: undercard for Usyk Dubois, and no Crawford Canelo announcement yet. Still,
told you.
Crawford Canelo's not going to happen.
It might not happen, and I would not be surprised. Moses Atama and Martin Bakoli, I reckon, is going to be on that undercard.
No, we're just chatting about that. Billy said that Bakoli's got something else on. The earliest he can fight Moses is December. But I agree that should be the fight. Like co-main event, 70, 80,000 people. It cost a few quid, but that's the fight. But no, they're going to put Moses in with like Otto Vallin or something like that.
He's got a TBA on the Fabio Wardley card next weekend, and he's going to get announced straight into that Atama fight, I reckon.
Who Wallin's on the Wardley card?
No, what's his name? HYSA, that Australian. I'll have to get it up. I know who I'm talking about. It's the Queensbury have signed him as a heavyweight, he's on the Fabio card next week, and it looks like they're going to move him in.
Yeah, look, I don't really see why Moses should fight Wallin or someone like that, personally. Hi, Humble Apple Crumb. I hope you're well.
Nelson Heiser.
Nelson, yes.
Chill town. I don't think Yard's big enough. I mean, I know he's muscly and that, but he's not big enough for cruiser. He's too short.
Yeah, he's stocky and he's big unit, but yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
I know what you mean. I said from day one, I didn't want to see Canelo Bud. I just don't like them kind of reaching fights.
They've shot themselves in the foot now. They had all the hype for it, and then like all this TKO crap, and then like they've lost all. Like none of us care about it now because they've promoted it that badly. You've got two generational greats on a plate. There's been simmering for ages like this, and now all of a sudden it's like. No one cares.
Open the fridge. The food is spoiled. You can't marinate too long.
Never said Crawford be in Las Vegas to some reporters. Yeah, look, Pat, I'm with Jay and Chilltown. I don't care about it that much anymore. Yes, I'll be buzzing. I'll watch it when it comes around if it happens or whatever. But this is meant to be the fight of the year. Like
I'd rather see Boots at 154 for Bud.
Yeah, I'd rather see Bud against Ortiz, if I'm being honest.
Somebody like that, yeah.
Yeah, like that'd be. But yeah, look, we've been told we're going to get it. This TKO thing's gone absolutely off a cliff, hasn't it? Like, where's all I'm hearing is, they're going in for a league system. They're not signing the top fighters in the sport. They're signing, prospects or whatever you want to call it. But like, where's the news? Like, what's happening? They announced this league 3-4 months ago.
Do you know what I think they've done there? I think they've made the announcement like Zuffa Boxing, and it's just not taken off how they assumed it would. And I think off the back of that, they've thought, do you know what? We'll shelve that.
Yeah, we'll shelve that being a TKO fight. We'd rather it be Riyadh season promoted. That's I agree.
We're now in danger of not even getting it as Riyadh season.
Stick with what got you to the dance, man. Stick with the dance. Stop trying to change and reinvent the wheel. We know what works. Make the fights and move on. You don't need to start doing all this league and this stupid belts and that. It's just not working. None of us were clambering to see the TKO fights, really, were we? And we're boxing nuts. So can you imagine how it's being perceived by casual people? Not interested. I don't believe the interest is as big as they
It's
expect.
just because Dana's name's attached to it that it gained any form of traction, isn't it? Really, that's.
Like we said before, Turkey's not silly. Turkey's not silly. He knows what names to bring into it to spike people's interest.
Yeah.
Like, I think look, Canelo Crawford, like Pat's saying here, I think we might not get it this year now. We might not get it at all. The Wembley undercard needs to be announced soon. It looks like it's going to be a Talmud, Nelson Haiza, if he comes through his TBA next week. You know, the toughest opponent out there, TBA. Jack Rafferty and Mark Chamberlain's been spoken about as well. The Adelaide TKV rematch. I don't think it's going to be the most spectacular of undercards, but I think it will be solid enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, the budget's blown, I would say, on the main event. You know, Usyk's not going to be cheap, is he, with the purses that he's been demanding? Obviously, Dubois has been putting the shots. Yeah, I can't imagine there being a star-studded undercard myself. If I'm being honest, boys. A stacked week next week. You've got about 6 boxing cards that have some good fights. So on Jaya Pattaya on the Sunday, Junto Nakatani against Nishida in a unification Sunday. Obviously, Portman Road and Oakwell cards for Boxer and Queensbury kindly clashing. Keyshaw making his first defence.
Josh Kelly Friday.
De Los Santos. Josh Kelly returns in a highly anticipated fight against the Romanian Bayer. There's
another one. I would rather see Josh Kelly see if he can boil at 147 and fight Boots or someone, because he needs a big fight. Just try him.
Josh Kelly's 31 years old.
Yeah, if he's not careful, mate, he's going to be very anticlimactic. His career is just going to have fizzled out, and he's got so much natural talent and ability.
Stuck in the same gear.
I don't think staying with Adam Booth's done him any favours, and I don't know why. There's just something about that partnership that just hasn't worked for him. It hasn't, has it? You know, he won the British.
Didn't work for Michael Conlon.
No, and that's no slight on Adam Booth. Adam Booth's had some fantastic fighters, but he makes them all fight exactly the same way, and it gets them to a certain point, and then they get found out.
Yeah,
other than Ryan Burnett.
Yeah.
And it was injury that put paid to his career. But,
you
know, other than that, I just wish that Josh Kelly would get a big fight, because he's got the skills to win a world title, I believe.
Yeah.
But it'll pass
I watched all of Nick and Adam's content on the TKO thing, Luca. They were very, very excited about it. But, you know, it was never going to be that easy, was it? If it was that easy, Dana would have come in by himself without TKO.
Well, he started Zuffa and it just fizzled out.
Yeah.
Other than he wore a T-shirt with Zuffa.
Well, yeah, he kept saying that boxing's dead and I can't work with it and X, Y, Z. Look, I don't know. It's a mess, though. The whole thing's a mess. Canelo Crawford's a mess. TKO boxing's a mess.
Come on, Luke. Josh Kelly ain't boring to watch. He's not boring to watch.
To be fair, I do feel where he's coming from. Like, he's no power or anything. Like, he's so flashy in the gym and stuff. And then, do you know what I mean? Like, it's you know, my favourite. His performances are a little bit rinse and repeat.
I rate him.
He's a purist.
No, I rate him. He's fantastically talented. There's no doubt about that. In fact, he's brilliant. But, like, he has, like, I mean, we're talking about he's 31 years old. His career's, he's flattered to deceive.
He's never recovered from the Avanesian loss getting done by Matchroom. You talk about going to Adam Booth. I also think the fact he's with Wasserman and the Sauerland brothers has also had a massive impact on him. Because other than Detroit,
on Channel 5 in front of 500 people on Friday night, probably. That's the harsh truth of it.
Because other than the Troy fight, which was there because it was for the British title and it was a local rivalry, there's been nothing there from him since being over there. Not being with Matchroom, not being with Queensbury or even Boxes impacted him. I mean, he got his spot on the Riyadh season card and then he should have been Liam Smith, and then he ended up with Ish Davis, didn't he, as a last-minute opponent. Even that, which could have been, if he beat Liam Smith, would have been, look, I'm here, give me a world title fight. Even that didn't work out for the lad, did it?
No.
Fantastic to watch.
What about Aaron McKenna?
Potentially now, yeah. If he comes through on next Friday, him and Aaron McKenna would make sense, wouldn't it? McKenna's not signed for a major promoter, is he?
Bin man. He gets chinned by a Romanian bin man.
Yeah. Well, is McKenna not signed to anyone? No.
I don't know if he is.
He's a good fighter, man. I'm surprised no one's picked him up.
Not one of the major ones, anyway. I think he is signed. I think he might be Hennessy, so he's not one of the major players that we talk about. So yeah, that would make sense.
Ish had him in trouble in that last round at Wembley. He was all over him.
Think he's fast enough to. I think Josh can get a good
yeah.
lead. You know, that's the problem. I think Josh can get a good lead, and then he falters down the stretch. If he can hang on like he did last time, there you go. Matchroom's got
that makes sense if he fought beefy. There was one thing I was going to say. I think I watched something earlier. I think Kevin Ajako is going to be fighting Ishmael Davis on the Crocker Donovan 2 rematch card. I think that'll be in September from what I was listening to in an Ajako interview. And there's one other one. Jay, I needed to bring this up to you because it would make you laugh. Dave Allen versus Wilder.
Wilder. Allen will flatten Wilder. He'll fucking flatten him.
I honestly think this version of Wilder could get beat by Dave Allen.
Listen, Dave Allen is underrated, mate. He just can't be arsed. When he turns up...
And Wilder's shot to bits as well.
Wilder's been shot to bits his whole career. He's just hit really hard. I've seen him ringside. I swear to God, he is absolutely...
Yeah, great fight, Luca.
Useless. But he's a wrecking machine. The punches, I've never heard the sound. I was there when he beat Audley Harrison. I actually had some food with him and that. He's a nice guy, but he's shit. And he's just got a really hard punch, but you could hear it. But his boxing skill set is shocking. And I think Dave Allen would beat him. I think he'd stop him.
Incredibly successful for what he's got, though. I actually respect the hell out of him for that.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Dave has been going to be made for 18 months.
Yeah, I think Jarko wins that, you know.
Yeah. It's a tough one.
Not sure. I could be back in a draw.
We lost Sam?
Have we lost Sam?
I was just going to say, talking about Dave Allen and Wilder. Dave was asked about that today because he was at the Catterall Eubank press conference. Obviously, Pat Brown. And he's honest about it, isn't he? At least he says, look, I'm not saying I would have beaten the Wilder that was around 5 or 6 years ago, but right now at this point, I believe I could beat Wilder. And that's why we love Dave Allen as well, because he's never said he could beat in their pomp Fury or Usyk or anyone like that, but he's realistic.
Dave is a realist. That's one thing
you go back credit for. And watch the face-off with him and Elmer Fudd, Johnny Fisher.
Yeah.
Listen to what he says to him, and he's been honest and open. He says,
I watched it. Yeah,
I'm better than you. I'm harder than you. You ain't beating me.
That's what he said. He goes, I beat him before the ring. He goes, I just big brothered him. He goes, I just knew that.
I'll tell you what, I didn't realise when he knocked him down the first time. I didn't know Allen had called break.
Yeah,
Dave Allen called break. That's how he caught him. I didn't realise he'd done that, which is fantastic. If you can get away with that, it's brilliant.
That's just gamesmanship, isn't it? Gamesmanship.
It's knowing the game. It's knowing the tricks.
He knows all the tricks. He's a professional sparring partner. That's what Dave's done his entire career. He's been a high-level sparring partner for elite and world-class heavyweights. So he knows every trick in the book.
A big fan of what Dave's doing. He's gone full Liam Cameron, hasn't he? He's on the old press tour and he's here, there and everywhere. But credit to him, man. He's in his early to mid-30s. He's making a good bit of dough in this part of his career, and I'm pleased for him, man.
At least Dave's doing it off the back of a win rather than trying to tell everyone that he would have beat. At least Dave's done it the right way. He didn't really do it after the first fight, did he? He kept himself to himself during the training camp. We didn't really hear or see from Dave Allen until we got to fight week at the Copper Box. And now he's maximising the moment. And by his own admission, he said, these 2 fights I get with Matchroom could be my last 2 fights, which is why he's talking about fighting Wilder.
Well, he said he wanted to retire by the time he was 35. Do you know what I'm glad out of the outcome of that fight, the Fisher Allen 2, is we're seeing less of the flipping dad, because I was sick to the back teeth of that arrogant asshole. What an arrogant man.
You must be missing him, mate, because Big John is still everywhere. You must just not be seeing him.
Not on my feed, he's not. Not on my
feed. He's constantly, they're on holiday at the moment.
Dave Allen's muted him off.
Underpants on a billboard advertising fat clothes. That's the only time I see him now when I'm going up the M62 towards the A1. Boo-hoo. Banana or something.
He is. You can't get away from him. You can't get away from him.
Not on my feed, Luca. I've not seen sight nor sound of him, pal.
Well, mate, I'm glad for you because he's on holiday at the moment, so he's flipping topless all the time. It's a bit off.
Eating 3 kilograms of kebab meat.
No, Luca is. Yeah, that is what he done. And as someone commented underneath it, young Johnny's biggest challenge is yet to come is his pallbearer underneath that 3 kilogram kebab video.
I mean, he's not wrong.
He's not
Don't worry,
wrong.
mate, I'll send it to you. There you go, Jay.
You'll get boxed, Luca.
Just in case.
He's a blocked or boxed.
Blocked.
Oh yeah, so I know it's been quite sparse this week, and we'll probably wrap up in a sec. But I want to ask you about one other thing, about Mr. Cobra Froch and Mr. This is how desperate we are for a bit. And Carl Froch and Darren Till. What's going on there, Jay?
It's not.
Sangria, yeah, saw that as well. Sangria, bash.
No, look, Carl Froch, God love him, is a tough man, and he can have a spin on the cobbles, right? Allegedly.
You don't want to mess with the Cobra on the cobbles, mate.
Unless you're Darren Till. Darren Till will fold him up like a deck chair. Boxing match, I think he gets beat by Froch. Froch is still fit. And was he 40 odd?
He's 50.
They're gonna
48 or something.
They're going to make that fight. That fight's going to be made. I've heard Froch.
He's been offered it, Froch, on Misfits.
I don't think it's enough money for him.
I think he'd have to be talking 4 or 5 mil to get Froch out of retirement. You know,
because
he ain't going to put his reputation on the line.
I don't think he's going to bait him into it. Till can call him a big nose knobhead as much as he wants.
Now, Froch will only fight Jake Paul. He'd fight Jake Paul because it gives him so much notoriety, and Froch absolutely lives for the views and the clicks and all that. So I don't think Till's a big enough name, but Jake Paul, he would be all over that.
Ariel Hawani needs to watch his mouth because he's going to end up getting slapped.
Yeah, he's getting a bit brave for the Cobra.
A little bit, yeah. He's gone from one extreme to another. He's gone from being a company guy that daren't say anything.
Yeah, it's because he was on with Till, so he's just trying to give it large because he had the big Darren on with him. But
but there's a difference. Darren Till talks and at least attempts to back it up every time. Ariel Hawani would hit himself.
Yeah. The Cobra's in New York soon, he said.
I'm telling you now, if Till and Froch, because Darren
Froch, and he was spitting everywhere.
He calls him Froch, and I don't know why he's always doing it.
What have you, Carl Froch?
But if they're together in the same building, it will go off. Because Darren Till will go up to him and put it on him. And Froch.
Oh, yeah, and the Cobra's not going anywhere, is he?
So they'll have a fight, but I believe that Darren Till will beat him in a street fight.
Well, Till could probably just choke him out if you want.
That's what I mean. He's got too much MMA skill, but it's a fight I'd like to see.
And Till's a young man in his prime as well.
Yeah. One thing I will say, just because
he loves it, Luke. He sprays everywhere.
Leading into Misfits is, has Idris Virgo lost his fucking mind? Have you seen what he's posted? Has he lost his mind, that guy? He reckoned that there were disqualifying Ty Mitchell had written the fight off because he got stopped too early. Then he put a screenshot on supposedly from Tyson Fury, which obviously wasn't from Tyson Fury. It's like he's had some kind of mental breakdown over this loss. It's fucking weird, man. Grow and move on.
Yeah, but by the way, on Fury, he's 1,000,000% coming back soon because he's starting to post. I'm starting to see him left, right, and centre on my.
Telling us how good retirement is, and
and he took Paris. He took Paris on holiday, didn't he? That's how you know he's going back to the gym. He took Paris on holiday, so he's AJ Fury happens this year. Putting
October.
It out there.
October.
It'll happen at the end of this year, AJ Fury. 1,000,000%.
Mate, there's inevitability in life. Tyson takes Paris on holiday. He goes back into training camp. We get to fight week. Paris is pregnant, and then Tyson wins. That's the cycle.
Fight, kid, holiday.
We're on stage one of that process now.
In that order.
Because AJ had surgery today or yesterday for that elbow that's been playing him up or something. He'll be back out in like November, December. Realistically, the only other fight for AJ is if Dubois beats Usyk and Usyk retires. But if Dubois beats Usyk, I'd imagine Usyk will have a rematch clause in the contract.
He won't, though, will he?
Well, he won't. No, unless he's aged overnight, which I guess is possible. And look, this version we're interested, aren't we? It's not a foregone conclusion.
No, it's not. But knocking out.
It's just as close to it as it could possibly be.
Yeah, knocking out Joshua is don't get drawn in, Daniel, because that's not the same. It's not the same, and you can dying out on it wasn't low, it wasn't low, whatever it
I've
was.
backed against Usyk too many times. As long as he's got a pair of boxing gloves, I will never pick against Alexander Usyk
him again.
Ever again in my life.
I thought Fury. The only time I backed against him really was what I thought Fury had beat him in the first one. After that,
yeah, I picked Fury in both fights. To be fair,
I think I did.
not my smartest. Yeah, but look, Dubois bang up against it. In fact, there's another one. This is what we'll finish on because Joe Parker put out another one of his cracking videos. That was.
I love Joe Parker.
Oh, for God's sake, Luca. Yeah, so Parker's made one of his videos. I heard Kabiel got offered Vladimir Klitschko and bang on for Kabiel for turning it down because he would have got paid a fortune for it. And he said, "Nah, I'm not interested." So big respect to Agit Kabiel for that because he's the man. So what's happening with Parker and Kabiel now? Or, like, I'm not asking you like you know. I'm asking you what do you think will happen with?
They'll fight each other.
Do you think they'll fight?
They're going to have to. There's no one else to fight, or no one else that anybody wants.
Yes, Pat.
To fight.
They'll fight. They'll fight each other. Jay's right. It's what WBO and WBC interim between them, so they're not going to get a crack at a world title this side of Christmas unless the belts become vacant because they're the interim champions. To fight each other. Yes, one of them's going to have to give up their interim title. Well, the only reason Parker's still got his is because Dubois pulled out 2 days before the fight. That's the reality. Parker was on the verge of giving his up back in February, so counts for nothing. If Kabayel wants to stay as an interim champion, then Parker will give up his WBO and he'll beat Kabayel for me as well.
I think Parker Kabayel is a tough fight to call. I would lean towards Kabayel, honestly, right now.
I think Parker stops him. I think Parker stops him. I mean, if Zhang can time him and knock him down, yes, he got back up and Parker's not.
But to be fair, Zhang dropped Parker twice.
He did, but that's Parker's reinvented
White
himself.
Parker. It's a horrible fight, isn't it? I agree, Luca. I
don't
agree.
need to see White and Parker again.
Well, White's got a win over Parker, doesn't he?
Yeah, but we don't need to see it again.
Fraser Clark's asking for that fight.
Oh, the Dillian White fight. I saw that. Yeah. That's actually like...
Dillian's back next weekend.
He's on the Wardley card, isn't he? I mean, look at this. It's a fair debate as well. There's so many unmatched heavyweights right now.
White's not going to go down the pecking and fight Fraser Clark. He's not going to do that.
Do you know, just while it's coming to my head, one thing I thought about Moses Atauma? Do you think it's a possibility that could feed him to Joyce? That would be horrible. That's just like feeding the lambs to slaughter.
Because I like Joyce.
I know. That's just like you just know that he's going out flat on his back in a bad way.
What's this chinny? Why am I seeing posts of Atauma apparently he's got a glass chin?
Billy Nelson said it. Billy Nelson said it last week that he's chinny, and Francis Warren went absolutely apeshit on him.
No disrespect. I mean, Billy told us that Martin McCauley was the greatest thing since Muhammad Ali, and how's that worked out? I mean, bank-wise, money in the bank-wise, it's worked out great, but yeah, it sells a good story, does Billy?
Oh, it does, yeah. Luca, I agree. That's another good point on this whole marinating things. It's like, and I agree, we could see White, Parker, and Kabiel Hrgovic, but why don't Dillian White fight Hrgovic, and then we do Parker Kabiel? I know that they both deserve better, but
I think ultimately tired. I don't think he'll fight again.
Yeah, Hrgovic doesn't like boxing, I don't think. Unfortunately, the way it is.
Neither does Delicious.
yeah, true. Yeah, Delicious has gone, and I guess we'll. He's gone to the corporate world. Fair play to him.
Yeah, listen, he's got an economics
fancy
degree.
Getting punched in the face for a living by 20 stones.
Listen, if he gets into economics, he'll probably make more money.
Look, we knew Delicious wasn't fully into boxing when it took him so long after Paris because there was a WWE offer there. That's the reality. He was always on the fence about turning over in the first instance. And as people have said in the comments to his announcement, this is the one sport that if you're out of love with it, it's dangerous. You don't play boxing, the old adage that we say time and time again. Fair play to him. He's got a degree. He wants to go and do his masters and then get out into the corporate world. Do it while his faculties are intact rather than taking a beating and not being able to do anything. That's the reality. Fair play.
Good on him. Fair play to kid.
Fair play to him.
I respect it too. Good debate. Then we'll leave it there for this evening. I think we've made a bit more of that than we potentially could have done with the lack of action this weekend. Myself and Liam will be there for Nunes Rikishi. I don't think you can make tomorrow, can you, Jay?
Unfortunately.
No, that's fine. So if anyone is watching the Japanese card, look out for the main event. Myself and Liam will be there for it. We'll be there for. Probably won't actually be there for any watch-alongs this weekend, to be fair. I don't think any of us fancy getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning for Caleb Plant against Resendiz with the greatest of respect. But we'll do some predictions for Plant and Charlo. We'll get some of that out.
Great talk back this week.
Straight Talk will be back over on JFT. Liam, have you got a show you're skipping it this week?
Skipping it this week.
There's not really much
apart from his nose.
Yeah,
that's a different type of content, mate. I charge for.
Cheers, Pat. Thanks for joining us as always, mate. Cheers to Pat, Luca.
Thanks, guys.
Chilltown, Humble Apple Crumble, and Mad Mitch TV.
Make sure you hit Mad Mitch TV up. I've told you before, he's making me a watch. He's making me a Seiko unique. He makes watches. So if you're into watches or rare sneaks, hit my guy, Mad Mitch.
10% off on No Punches Pulled discount code.
Let him know you know, boys. Oh, can I just say, free DJ Pen. DJ Pen, let him out.
On that bombshell, boys, been a pleasure. See you next time.